Hello, all you sexy single ladies. Adam LaDolce here. I am so excited to be coming to you live for this monthly Sexy Confidence Club call. I know this is a little bit crazy. I'm more dressed up than I usually am. We have some really weird background here, like as if I'm in some haunted mansion. The reality is I'm actually on shoot for a television show that I'm going to be a part of. I can't talk any more details about it, but we're literally like in the middle of shooting. But I wanted to, of course, keep the schedule for this Sexy Confidence Club call and be able to tune in for this for all of you Sexy Confidence Club members. So what I really want to make sure you all do while I'm kind of getting set up here is just make sure you shut off any distractions that you have going on right now, whether it's, the radio or you're texting on your phone, or anything that you have going on right now that could be potentially distracting you from this time right now. Because really what this is all about is taking 30 minutes of your time, set it aside to focus your life on dating. Because so often things come up in our lives that just take us apart. Like this out of nowhere came into my life, and I'm like trying to, of course, make time for this, right? We have to prioritize what's most important to us. So for those of you who are live with me, thank you so much for coming. You are first for any questions you might have. I know people are tuning in right now. Welcome, everyone. Give me a comment if you have any questions you want me to just jump right into. This session right now is really focused on how to make a man miss you and want to really ultimately be with you. When someone has that feeling of kind of missing you, that is that feeling of just like, God, I need to be with that person. I miss that person. And that is really where we're going to be focusing on today is that feeling. And no, there's no like tricks or manipulation tactics or anything like that. This is just really focusing on building you as the product, because that's what dating is all about. Is you are the product and we are getting you out there. Or maybe you have a guy in your life who is not maybe investing enough in you or in the relationship, and you want a little bit of help making that happen. So for those of you who are just joining again, I'm in this like right now we are shooting a television show, a national TV show. I am the dating coach on the show. So I have to be a little bit quiet here for the show. Like the whole production team is in there. And I was like, I need to focus in on my Sexy Confidence Club members. So thank you all so much for joining. I'm again so excited to have you all here. And for those of you who this is your first time joining the Sexy Confidence Club call, thank you, Annie, for the pocket square compliment. I appreciate that. For those of you who are first joining, here's the format of this program. For starters, I start with just 3 core concepts that you can really focus in on. This is all about how to make a man miss you. So I'm going to talk about some key things you can think about as far as getting a man to invest more into a relationship or into you, even if you're just dating right now and you're not official, how to get him to invest more into you than he is right now. Then, of course, the second part is answering the questions for those of you who are live right now. And then the third part is I answer questions for those of you who have asked questions to me or want to get your questions answered on this call. So I have a whole list. I've been getting a ton of questions for all of you, so I choose the ones that are most applicable for all of you sexy single ladies out there. So let's start with the first part of this. I'm going to just dive right in because I know you don't have time to waste. I don't have time to waste. Let's just dive right into it. So this is all about taking things slow. How to make a man miss you by taking things slow. So first, like high level strategy with all of this is really ultimately being the type of woman that he would actually miss. And what that means is that when you are with a person, when you are with him, whether it's on a first date, second date, third date, or even you might be further on in a relationship, give it your all, give him your attention, really stay present when you're around him. Because I think so many of us get caught up especially when we start to get more comfortable with someone, just we're texting on our phone, we're thinking about other things, maybe you've had a really long day at work and you're not really being present with that person. So when you're with him, really be with him, be present in the conversation, be present in the relationship. But when you're not with him, you should quite frankly be a ghost to him. You should be doing other things. You should be investing more of your time and energy into things that matter in life, things that matter. And I'm not saying he doesn't matter, but what I'm most importantly saying is that when you're not with him, you don't need to be texting him every 3 to 4 hours. You don't have to be checking in with him. You don't have to be constantly thinking about him and what he's doing. If he has a night with his friends, it's okay for you to also have a night with your friends, right? That's what this is all about, is being the type of woman he would actually miss. Because when you are constantly, when you're with, like, here's what most of the time happens. A person, and by the way, this goes both sides, men and women are totally guilty of this. So when I say women, of course, it's because all of you are women. So don't get offended by this. But what a lot of women do is they want to be with a guy, they want to make him miss you, but when you're with him, you're not present at all. And you're texting, you're talking to other people, but then when you're apart, all you're trying to do is get his attention on you. And if you're guilty of this, give me a comment, let me know. I have been guilty of this when it comes to women myself, of just wanting that validation, wanting that kind of text from a woman just telling me that, like, yeah, things are okay. So that's really the big part of all of this, is making sure that when you are apart, you are pursuing your passions, you are pursuing your interests and your hobbies, and really, making a man emotionally invested in you is just all about creating an incredible life without him. No man wants to invest in life with you unless you have an incredible life without him. That's the first part. The second part of all this is moving slower than him at all stages of the relationship. When you move slower than him, he is weirdly going to want to speed things up. And it's a crazy thing that happens when it comes to dating and relationships. When you start to slow things down and not progress things, suddenly what's going to happen? He's going to start to take the lead. Um, I thought of this the other day because I was with Jessica, and she's a kind of a crazy driver. I'll just say, I love her dearly on like a deep, deep level, and but she's a crazy driver. And when we were behind a car, and the car was driving really, really slow, and seemed to be driving slower and slower and slower, then what happened is she had an opportunity to pass him, and she suddenly started zooming past him, and then started driving even crazier after that, because she was like, I just now want to drive really, really fast because that car slowed me down. This, in a weird way, the same thing happens when it comes to the early phases of dating. Let's say you go on a first date together, things are really great. He says, oh man, I'd love to spend next weekend together. I know this is like a little quick, but maybe we could go away, to my lake house for the weekend. What most of the time people do is, because they're so excited about this new relationship, they're like, yes, of course. And they go at his pace and they keep going, going, going. But what I want you to do is slow things down. Be like, no, you know what? I'm not really available. Let's just, maybe we can meet up the following week. And by kind of pacing where things are going, you are suddenly in control. Even if he just wants to see you too soon, right? And things go well. Sometimes you'll go in for a second date and he says, man, I need to see you soon. I need to see you like tomorrow night. How many times have you done this where you're like, yes, of course. And then you see him the next night, and then you see him the next night, and then you start sleeping together, and things are amazing. Sparks are flying, and then he disappears. How many times does that happen? It happens a lot, right? And it's because you're moving too fast. You're not slowing things down. You're not going slower than he actually wants to be going. And it's incredible. It's incredible how this works, because the person who's moving the slowest when it comes to relationships and dating is actually the person who is in control of the direction of where things are going. If you're always trying to speed things up, if you're always trying to take him to the next level, if you're always trying to define the relationship, if you're always trying to get him to, move in with you and just trying to speed things up, what's going to happen? He is going to resist. So that's something to keep in mind, especially for you women who are kind of earlier on in the phases of dating with a guy. It's incredibly powerful stuff. And quite frankly, when it came to me and Jess, when we first got together, this is something that she did in the early phases, is just always and really within the first month of dating. After that, we were pretty much inseparable. But in the first month, I was just constantly trying to see her and want to spend time with her. And she was like, dude, like, we're just getting to know each other here. Like, cool. Slow it down a little bit here. And that caused her to always have kind of the upper hand. And like, I should know that I should know the stuff, right? I'm a dating coach, but what can I say? I was in love. So let me see if we have any questions so far. No questions so far. And I'm sorry if I'm whispering, but we have, of course, we're filming some stuff over here for the show. Finally, the third part. And by the way, if you have any questions that you want to ask me, it doesn't even have to be related to what I'm talking about. Feel free to ask me in the chat. I'd be happy to answer that for you live. So the third part about making a man miss you by taking things slow is leaving mystery in the conversation. It happens all the time. We're on a first date or a second date and the conversation is just flowing. Things are going well. The wine is flowing and just like, oh my God, you are clicking. So what happens? You tell him your entire life story. You tell him about all of your dreams. You tell him about your entire family. You tell him about every single thing you like to do for fun. You tell him about your job. And then what happens? There's no teaser. There's nothing for the next date. And there's nothing that's leaving him wondering, who is this person? What you ultimately really want is, especially like, and this is really effective even when you just first meet a guy. Let's say you're meeting him at a party or a bar, or let's say like it's a first online date. Like, it's really effective to say things like, whoa, we just met yet. Maybe on the second date we can talk about that, right? Or if he asks you what you do for a living, be a little bit evasive. And, you don't have to share the whole thing, right? I would certainly do that because my profession's like a little crazy, back 5 years ago when I was single, and people asked me, well, Adam, what do you do for a living? I would say something like, well, it involves writing and it involves dating. I'll tell you a little bit more about that on the next date. What does that do? Now it's created this like incredible incentive to want to go on another date with me. It creates this like mysterious vibe of like, I can't figure out who this person is, but I would like to know more. You see how that works? And on a very tactical level, it's really effective to getting people to want to spend more time with you and see you again. So really notice one thing about all of this stuff is it's not really focused on manipulation or trying to force someone into missing you. It's all about creating the product that is you and making that product as amazing as possible, right? Because you are the product, right? When it comes to dating, when they come and meet you, you need to market that product and think about all of these things when you are going on those dates and meeting new guys. Ultimately, when you are pursuing your passions, your interests, and doing cool things in your life, people want to be around you. Right? That's like what it comes down to. So, I could tell you, like, with a lot of my various programs, you want me to come in? You're gonna be live if you come in. Am I being too loud? Okay, sorry about that. We have the crew over here. So now I'm going to go into Q&A here. And again, I'm sorry that I have to talk so quietly. Hopefully you all can hear me pretty well. I'll get a little bit closer. Let's get into the second part of all of this, which is answering your questions that you have for me when it comes to your dating life. And again, we have a question from Karen. I want to jump into this. It says, when developing your dating profile, how do I deal with age? I look younger than my actual age and don't want to be with old men, though they need to be mature. Look, you're asking for a lot from the starting point. Is, for starters, fantastic that you look younger than your age, and really it comes down to, of course, writing in your profile the age group that you're looking for, and then of course only accepting dates from guys who are within that age group. Look, your online dating profile says your age, so you're going to attract guys who are interested in women that age. You don't really have that many options. You don't want to lie about how old you are. That doesn't make much sense. And you really just, be the biggest thing with online dating is just getting your profile out there, clicking on a lot of profiles, spending time uh, visiting a lot of profiles, because they're going to see that you visited their profile, and then they're going to click on your profile and maybe message you. And as well, on top of that, send messages, send lots of messages to the guys that are maybe in the age group that you're interested in. I wouldn't go too much younger. Of course, I don't know your age, but I wouldn't go too young, because guys certainly in their mid to late 20s may not be as interested in something serious as men in their 30s and beyond. So just a few things to keep in mind. Question from Annie. How do you respond to slow down the constant text or selfies without seeming bitchy? Also, how do you determine if a guy is pacing so quickly is a red flag, or if he's just a guy that is excited? So let me answer the first question. I think this is easy. Is how do you slow down the constant text without seeming bitchy? And that's just slowing down your pace of response. It's not bitchy if a guy texts you like immediately and you are waiting 4 or 5 hours to respond. Many times when I was single and going out, and I would be speaking, and I was very, very busy. I would toured colleges all across the country and lectured on dating and relationships. So I couldn't really respond very quickly. And honestly, I still don't respond very quickly when it comes to texting. Just don't respond too quickly, and soon enough they're going to get the sense that, like, look, you're not the type of person who's married to your phone. And if they ever give you shit about it, just tell them that, look, you have a philosophy when it comes to texting that, like, you don't want to live on your phone, you want to live your life. And if that's like a major problem, then look, it's probably not going to work out, because you do have an amazing life. So think about it, like, it's all about positioning that, and that's not bitchy. It's not bitchy if you don't want to respond to every single text the moment it comes in. And if someone has a major problem with that, they're probably going to be really needy anyways in a relationship. So I would personally say, run the other way if someone has like a huge major problem with that. Second part of that question is, how do you determine if a guy is pacing so quickly is a red flag, or if he's just a good guy that is excited? You're going to find that out after really, I would say 3 months or so. It's really, so the answer to your question is, I would say it's hard to know early on, because some guys are just like get really excited and they are really interested in you. They want to get to know you. But as that, some of your love, we'll call them love chemicals, start to wear off, and you get this massive amount of dopamine and serotonin that happens in the early stages of dating. Once that starts to wear off, then you'll start to see what type of person are they really. Are they super needy? Are they constantly in need of your validation and your constant contact? Or do they have an independent life of their own? That is something, quite frankly, you're not going to really know for sure until later on in a relationship, once you are truly past like the romance phase, the early romance phase of the relationship. Then once you get to that point, then you can really start to determine, like, do we have true compatibility with each other? Or is this guy just like over the top, always needs to be around me, always needs to be clingy? Another quick question, and then I have to get to some of the other questions as well. But this question is also from Annie. I've also had guys request me as friends on Facebook or Instagram after the first few dates. And I feel like that's a bit pushy. Thoughts on how to handle that? This is a tricky one. Social media management is a tricky one. My initial response would be, I think Instagram is really designed to be more available to most people. So we got to think of what's socially acceptable, right? Instagram is generally considered to be a platform that is available to most people. And guys do want to look at your Instagram account. And this is totally normal for guys to be doing that. So I would say be more open to sharing your Instagram account, perhaps unlock your Instagram account, or consider just opening that up to guys and not having too much private stuff there, but keep your Facebook account pretty safe. And maybe just like, don't respond at all. Don't delete the request or don't accept the request. Just keep it hanging there. And if he asks you, be like, oh yeah, I don't really check it that often anyways. And at least just keep your Instagram account there available so that he can kind of look at your pictures a little bit, which is, again, perfectly normal, but maybe keep the Facebook account more close to the chest. remember, you don't have to like talk about any of this stuff. Like you don't have to have like a sit down conversation if a guy's doing anything like that. You can just really avoid the topic. And definitely, I would not recommend sharing any social media with someone you haven't met in person, just as a personal preference. But what, they don't deserve that to get that kind of information or level of intimacy with you until they've actually met you and you feel comfortable with that. So I'm going to get into some of the questions that I've received this month. These were some really, really good questions. I got a lot of them. So I'm going to go through some of the ones that really kind of stick out. So I'm going to go into this. So this one is from RNR. She wanted to stay a little more private. And she says, I love him. He loves me. We are crazy about each other, just not sexually. He wants an open relationship, whatever that means. And I definitely don't. I don't want to lose him. We are stuck. So sometimes in relationships, there's chemistry, as in conversational chemistry. You have a great flow with each other. You like being around each other. There's also compatibility, as in your lives, where you're generally going in your lives are the same places. But the third part is sexual chemistry. They're just not what you want in bed, and you're not what they want in bed. In reality, you're never going to get all of the components that you want in a relationship. You are never going to meet the perfect person. And I think this is important for us all to remember. And it's easy to forget that when you are single and looking. You always think that like, maybe I can get everything I want. It never happens. It literally never happens. So I would argue that sexuality is something that is on the spectrum of things that are less important for long-term potential relationships. I would actually say is less important to have like perfect sexual compatibility, because as we get older, sexuality just becomes less and less important. Now, that doesn't mean it's not important. Of course it is. But you can, rather than turn this into like this big open relationship and join a commune and both of you are sleeping with other people and it gets really complicated. And certainly that has worked for certain people. I don't think it's going to work for you. It sounds like you're not interested in that. Then it's just really important for both of you to acknowledge that you'll have an open mind and try to explore each other's sexuality. Talking about what it is that you really have liked in the past. And I know that can be like kind of an icky and uncomfortable conversation, but being real with someone about what you actually want sexually and ask him what he really wants, and don't judge him. Don't judge him on that stuff. Actually really listen to him. So few people actually have a raw conversation about what they like sexually and what other people or their partner wants. And if you can start to have that conversation, suddenly it can really start to connect you on a very real level. So think about having that conversation about what is actually missing and see if you can at least meet him halfway. And if he truly desires to have an open relationship across the board, even if the sexuality was really good, then it's going to be a real challenge to make this thing work for you in the long term. So let me go to the next question. Let me see if we have any questions from the viewers here. Okay, I'm going to go back to this. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I'm sorry I have to be so quiet here. We have a live TV show going over here. Okay, this question is from Wendy. I've had a repeat habit of over-investing. How do I stop doing that? The best way to not overinvest in someone is to keep your options open. That's it. If you find that once you go on a first or second date with a guy, or maybe you sleep with a guy, and you find yourself just like going head over heels and you can't think of another man, that is the time when you need to force yourself to potentially go out and meet other guys, accept other dates, keep your online dating profile going, and just remember that this could not work out with this guy. And you are not in a committed relationship until he is committed to you. That's it. Just remember, you're not in a committed relationship. Now, this is barring any type of dependency issues that you may have, and that could be a result of your childhood and perhaps a number of abandonment issues that it depends on the severity of the situation. So on a superficial level, I think what I just said is very applicable. However, if you're finding that you very, very quickly are latching onto people, it's likely that it extends from your childhood and a feeling of abandonment and potentially losing your father or your mother as you're growing up. And if you're finding that this is a constant issue and you have the constant fear of losing people in your life and you overly invest, then it is time to take a look at that. And that is where therapy can really, really help. Just at least taking a look at where this urge comes from. Because once you start to understand your urges and your tendencies and your habits, suddenly you can be much more aware of them. It's like once you understand the root cause of your problems, many times you can start to actually address them. So those are a few things that you can kind of keep in mind if you're finding this happening a lot. Okay, and keep in mind, I haven't actually even read any of these yet, so I'm just giving you my raw, honest take on this. This question is from Don. How do I move on from a breakup where I desperately feel like I need closure that I'm not getting? Look, closure in a relationship and closure in relationships rarely actually seem to happen. I think that's the key thing to keep in mind is I've seen this time and time again when maybe a guy flakes on you and disappears, or as far as like someone breaks up with you and you're still wondering like, why did this happen? Realizing that in so many areas of our life, you're never going to actually get closure. Even if he sat down with you and gave you reasons why it ended, you probably wouldn't actually buy it, right? You'd say, there's probably more to it. Even if you found out that he was having an affair with someone else, you probably still think, well, I need more closure. Closure can be really, really challenging to get, even if you get closure, right? So realize that in many ways, it's not closure that you're seeking, it's that you're seeking to just move on. And the best way to move on is to take time for yourself and realize that after a breakup, you can spend 3 weeks to 3 months on you. Focusing on yourself is the best thing that you can possibly do. Self-care. It's a great time to get healthy again, start eating well, start feeling good about yourself, start socializing again, meeting new people, not necessarily just for dating, just in your own life. And this, by the way, is applicable for any of you ladies out there who are struggling with maybe a guy who has flaked on you. It doesn't have to be like some big relationship breakup. It can be something small. It's just like you were seeing a guy and he just stopped responding to your texts. Stop always seeking closure. Most of the time, it doesn't actually do much anyways. So kind of having that realization, I think, is extremely helpful when it comes to this stuff. So it's the best I got for you on that one. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, this is, I think, applicable for so many of you single ladies out there. This one's from Kathleen, and she says, going on a casual first date this weekend. How do I make a lasting impression on him so he wants to see me again? Very nervous. So we've all been on nervous first dates before. We've all been nervous before first dates. I certainly have myself. And the best thing you can do is not be so concerned about the outcome of the date. There's this concept I talk about in a lot of my programs, which is not being outcome dependent, not being so concerned about the outcome of a date or outcome of a meeting, more so focusing your energy on just having fun and enjoying the time. The worst thing you can do when you meet someone for the first time is just thinking like, how is this going to end up? Is he going to ask for my phone number? Are we going to become boyfriend, girlfriend? Is he going to ask me to marry him? Are we going to have kids together? We're going to live the rest of our lives together. Those are outcomes. And so much of what I teach with Sexy Confidence is not worrying so much about the outcome of your interactions or the outcome of a date and just being happy that you went on the date, right? Focusing your energy on just like going on lots of dates, meeting lots of guys, and not worrying if necessarily they like you or not, and just focusing your energy on just being there and just having fun and letting him get to know you is huge part. And just once you get past that like mental stuff, that attitude stuff, the last thing is just body language. Body language is such a huge part of this. Smiling, being energetic, and as much energy as you can in the date. And that's the vast majority of it without going into too much. But that's the biggest stuff. Because if he, isn't digging your vibe and you put as much energy into it and you put as much as you can, then you know what? Screw him. Wasn't meant to be. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go through a few more of these and then I do have to get back. So if you do have any final questions for me, if you're here live, then now is the time to ask it because I only have a few more minutes before I get back. But I want to give you a few extra minutes here, bonus for this session. Okay. So this next question is, this next question is from Rebecca, and she says, why would a guy deny that he likes me when his behavior says something else? There's a lot of reasons why a guy might deny being interested in you, even though he's clearly showing interest. The biggest one is that he is in a relationship with someone else, or he's involved with someone else, or he's at a phase in his life where he is not interested in a relationship. No matter what, when it comes to all of this stuff, you cannot worry about you cannot worry too much about this one guy, because if he's telling you and denying that he has any interest in you, you have to take his word for it. Do not waste your energy and your time on a guy who's telling you he's not interested, because whatever that reason is, this goes back to the closure thing. You might not get the closure, but whatever that reason is, it means it's not happening. So don't invest your energy in a guy who's telling you he's not interested anymore. I've seen too many women in their lives waste their life on guys who tell them that they're not interested. So that's what I have for you. Oh, actually, let me see if we have any final questions here before I sign off here. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that, because I do need to get back to the show, and next month I will be sure to make this an extra long series as well, because I do apologize that I'm not able to go for longer, because I've gotten so many amazing questions from all you women. But I am available in the forum at any time for all you ladies out there. I'm also happy to answer your questions on this call. On the next call, I'll be happy to answer any further questions. If you're just watching this replay right now, I do recommend coming on live. It's a great way to be able to get your questions answered in real time. I always prioritize those first. And lastly, just please have some fun out there. Enjoy this time in your life, because you never know. This could truly be one of the last times you are single. And I know some of you are like, Adam, that's what I hope. But this can be one of the most exciting, most vigorous, most wonderful times of your life. So don't forget it. Enjoy every single moment. And remember, life is just a journey. Enjoy the journey, every single moment of it, because we're all going to wake up at some point in our lives and we're going to be 80 years old, looking back on our lives and just wondering, did we do everything we could have possibly done to just enjoy every minute of it? So thank you all so much for being here with me and being a part of this incredible journey. And I love you all so much. And I will talk to you all next month or in the forum. Thank you all so much. Speak to you very soon. Bye-bye.